We've been doing a series of how and why as a means of developing our own discipleship, of challenging our following of Jesus. We've looked at various things. Today we're going to be looking at how and why should I care for other people? Explicitly and implicitly, how and why should I be bothered to think about others than myself? We'll all do it. We think, of course, about ourselves first. And then maybe our loved ones, our spouse, our family, our children, grandchildren. Then maybe out to friends, other family members. Then maybe to neighbours or to colleagues. And then a concentric circles to the people on the fringes that do we really care about? We'll watch a few children in need clips or comic relief or those adverts on TV. How and why, as a follower of Jesus, do I care for the world? Ordinarily, I've had some people join with me and we have a conversation together. I love to introduce two friends of mine who absolutely and intrinsically have given their lives for the pursuit of caring for others. They are Alan and Sandra Skene. They are missionaries of the Apostolic Church based in the great nation of Malawi in southern East Africa. They've been there for over 20 years. I visited them as a scrawny 17-year-old, and I'm delighted to introduce them as a scrawny 30-something-year-old now. So if anyone's worth listening to about how and why we should care for others, it is these people. So let's keep listening and enjoy listening to Alan and Sandra.
Hi Craig, it's nice to chat with you again, all the way from my office here in Blantyre. Thank you for being in touch with us and asking us to contribute. Sorry the Zoom connection didn't work too well the other night, but hopefully we can just share something with this video from both of us. You ask a very good question, and what we've decided is I'll try to answer the why, and Sandra will pick up and give her thoughts on the how. And of course, when we get a why question, it really does challenge us, what we believe and what we know, and why do we do something is always good to answer. And I've written it down here. You want to know why I should care for people beyond my own family and friendship group and local community. And for me as a missionary, it's certainly something I was faced with many years ago. Why should I care for so many people? And we have to begin the whole chat by thinking really what has happened to us as we have come and we met with Jesus. Our life was changed, we were transformed into a new creation, and that is really the beginning of the answer to why. As we get to know God, as we come to realize what He has said to us, His message to us through the Bible, we see it as a mission message that God does have a purpose for us. He has a purpose that comes into us as we walk with Him in our daily lives. And from that mission, we begin to understand that throughout the Bible, He talks to us, especially about the nations. We really have been in such a privileged position to come to know Him as our Saviour. But we realize that is part of God's mission. And from the beginning to the end, why should I care about people? Why should I care about the people here in Malawi? People at one time I knew nothing about, or their circumstances. But it's the heart of God. His mission comes to us. His purpose is to draw the people, the nations of the world, and that not being political boundaries, but that is people groups, language groups of people who have their culture, have their history, and yet God's purpose is that they should be drawn to Him. They should know about Him. And so something stirs within our hearts and in our lives as we are Christians, that it's God's heart that changes us. So we have His love within us, and it causes us to want to take our experience of what we know of him to people who don't know. And so really that has been the short answer of the why, that God has his purpose, and it is his heart to draw the nations throughout the world to himself. And I suppose in a practical way, it all began for us as we were younger people in our teens, and even before we were married. We would be sitting in church, and we might be in missionary meetings and listening to others talk about their experience and people coming to know God. And, that started a stirring within us all those years ago. Then God would be putting his mission into us, that ascending out so that he might be taken and known by these people who perhaps don't know him yet. And one of our stories is that when we first come to Malawi, it was 20 years ago now. We came out for just 2 weeks in the February of the year, and we were taken down into one of the villages. And at that time we were being bombarded by so many images, thoughts, huge decisions to make. Our life was going to completely change as we would respond to a missionary call. And so we were struggling with it all. But then we went into this village down in Mulanje in Malawi, and into a little mud building with a grass roof, squeezed in there with the villagers. And that was, such an experience for us, a struggle for us. But at the end of that struggle, we were able to say to one another, this is the reason why we have come. This for these people. This is the reason that we have come. We are going to come to Malawi, is to share God with and share our experience, so that these great people from the warm heart of Africa might know him and might be part of God's bigger purpose, which is to draw all people groups to himself, a people that will be able to worship him, to love him fully, and to be part of everything that he has planned already. So I hope that answers a little bit of the why, and be passing on to Sandra to talk about how do we reach the people. How do we get to the people groups? So many are unreachable, and there's a lot to be done still in missionary work. Thanks so much.
Hi. Alan has tried to share with you his thoughts on why we should care about those who are out with our immediate inner circle, and now I'm going to try and address the issue of how. I think if we agree with Alan that our starting point is to follow God's heart in desiring to bring in the lost, then our priority needs to be deepening our walk with God. Because it's only if we are loving as he loves us that will be effective in reaching others for the kingdom. So growing your walk with God is vital in the whole process before you start anything else. And scripture tells us there's nothing new under the sun. So what I'm about to say is not going to be a huge revelation to anybody, but here we go. One of the big ways that we can reach into the lives of others and affect their lives is through prayer. Maybe that's not quite what you wanted to hear, but it's the truth, and we can testify as missionaries to the power of prayer. We know we are prayed for here in Malawi, and we value those prayers so much. So you know what prayer is, you know what it takes to pray, you know how to pray. So what I'm saying to you is, don't minimize the effect of your praying, be it for the lost, be it for the politics which allows people to be persecuted for being a Christian, be it the fight against injustices around the world. Don't minimize the worth of your time spent in prayer. I have read many missionary biographies, and particularly the pioneer missionaries, and there were one of two things was said about prayer in those books. And one thing that stirred me hugely was the depth of their prayer lives and their fervent, sincere belief in prayer and in the God who answers prayer. So don't minimise prayer. The other thing that some missionaries said in looking back, and they were asked would they do anything differently, and some of them answered, we wish we had prayed more. Don't minimise prayer. It's the linchpin of everything. The other way that's not going to surprise you when I tell you is that we can't all go, but we can all give, either financially or perhaps in our time with an organisation. Since being in Malawi, we have been absolutely blown away at the donations we receive from the people of God for the work of God here in Malawi. And can I say, it's not the amount of the donation that blows us away, but it's the heart behind the giving. It thrills me to know that there are so many Christians out there who are seeking God for missions. They are listening to God. They are asking God, what can I do? And when God touches their heart to give financially, they are being obedient to the prompting of the Spirit, and they are sending it. And that really blows us away. And it's how God works. And that's what we tell the people. When we are giving them the gifts that people send, we say, this is how God works. You can trust him. I guess you expected to hear both of these things, but there are some practical suggestions I would like to give you. If you have a heart for missions, if you are wondering how you can be of any help to anybody at the other side of the world that you don't even know. One of the things is you need to make yourself aware, get informed. Find out about organisations, for example, who maybe build orphanages or run feeding programmes in different countries in the world. Find out about Christian organisations who defend the rights of persecuted Christians in various countries around the world. Find out how you can be involved without going. There may be opportunities to serve within an organisation, even in your own locality, and still be reaching people that you don't know. You know, I remember years ago being at a convention, and the speaker was from a group who did minister to persecuted Christians around the world, and she mentioned countries I didn't even know existed. Make yourself aware. Find out what is going on in your world. Alan and I, even as seasoned missionaries, we went on a course a couple of years ago here in Malawi that spoke about the amount of countries that in the world who have still not been reached with the gospel. Find out about these countries. Find out how you can pray and help into their situations. Get informed. And can I say, don't wait for your leaders to spoon feed you the information. Find out for yourself. Do some donkey work. Go on Google. Find out. Write to these organisations. Ask for newsletters. Then ask God to show you, out of all of this, how would you want me to be involved? I think also the important thing is that you need to be open to God in what he wants you to do. Don't you go to God and tell him what you are going to do. I can remember as a young Christian when I first came into the Apostolic Church, just wanting to serve God in any capacity. And I can remember saying, God, whether you want me to be up on the pulpit preaching, or if you want me down here sweeping the floors, I'll do it, whatever. Don't despise the small things. God may just ask of you a small thing. Don't despise it, just do it. Now, we know that the face of missions has changed a lot over the years, and a lot of emphasis is now put on social activity, helping people who are living in poverty, dealing with people who are hungry, people who need medical help, school fees to be paid, no end of things that you can be doing on a practical level. And that is all good, and it's all necessary, and it's something we've certainly learned since coming here. You can't just preach the gospel. to people who are starving and have so many needs. You have to be able to reach into their lives as well and help them in some way. But what we would say is, if you want to be involved in that kind of way, don't put the gospel aside. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people doing that kind of practical good work, excellent work, but there are not so many people offering Jesus Christ to the lost and giving them an opportunity to know Christ and to be saved. So I'm just urging you to be careful, to make sure that you keep the gospel as the bigger part of your workload, not just the practical helps. So we hope that something of what we've said has been of some help to people. I'm not sure if we've addressed the questions quite in the right way. So I'm just going to round up by listing my sort of 4 bullet points to you in how you can go about reaching into the lives of others who you don't even know, you've never met, they're in countries you maybe never even heard of. First of all, seek the heart of God. Follow the heart of God for the lost. Follow the heart of God for those who are suffering under injustice and inequality in our world, because this is also scriptural. Secondly, pray and give. I say no more about that. Let God lead you. Thirdly, get information. Be informed. Weigh up your options. Seek God for what He wants you to do in the whole thing. And lastly, be ready to obey God in whatever capacity He calls you to, be it something small, be it something great. Just give your all to Him. And I think Alan would agree with me that we have never regretted giving our all, leaving our home country, coming to another country, leaving our family and friends. We have no regrets. We have great gratitude in our heart for the opportunity that God has given us to do this, and also great gratitude for your prayers and your support over the years. God bless.
That was brilliant, wasn't it? Thank you, Alan and Sandra, for sending us that from Malawi. The heart of the Christian gospel is God's love for others. He didn't need us, He wanted us, and He came looking for us. And the passion of Jesus in the heart of everyone who follows after Him is to do exactly the same. To receive the benefit of His love to us and allow His love to compel us to others. Beyond just those who benefit us, our friends, our family, our loved ones, to the world. And Alan and Sandra have helped us in that enormously today. So thank you for listening. And I pray that something of God's great love will be received by you and then through you to others. Thanks so much for listening. The Lord bless you.